All right, a Wednesday morning, just waking up and looking at Edward Everett Hale, his 1902 Ballads and Ballad Poetry. Really beautiful book. Uh, Phenomenal, published by Globe School Book Company for kiddos, Hawthorne Classic, Ballads and Ballad Poetry. And Hale also edited Edward Everett Hale also edited New England history through ballads. Really quite beautiful. And I am looking at one of what he frames out here as a modern ballad by John Greenleaf Whittier, one of the great fireside poets. And I remember working at Bunker Hill Community College in Boston and commuting back and forth from southern Maine. And I was always thrilled. Absolutely. I mean, my heart just sang when I would howl over the John Greenleaf Whittier Bridge crossing the Merrimack River. I love that. There was never a day. There might have been a day or two when I was absent minded and distracted, but generally, I really looked forward to driving over that bridge, right? And I would just kind of think to myself every time I drove over that bridge, I would think, wow, the great balladeer, John Greenleaf Whittier. So, in any case, I'm looking at this 1902 edition of Ballads and Ballad Poetry by Edward Everett Hale, who was a Unitarian minister, right, up in New England. And he did a lot of great work for adult education, establishing working men's schools, really phenomenal, powerful work in the late 19th century. And so, in any case, he includes one of John Greenleaf Whittier's ballads here called The Exiles, right? And of course, this focuses on religious persecution within the colonies, right? Really quite beautiful. And so the persecution of a Quaker man. And I will not sing the whole ballad, but there is a Luke Kelly bit that comes to mind, and it is that melody that I have in mind. So who knows? The Exiles, right? John Greenleaf Whittier. Um, who knows? Let us see. The good man sat beside his door one sultry afternoon, with his young wife singing at his side an old and goodly tune. A glimmer of heat was in the air, the dark green woods were still, and the skirts of a heavy thundercloud hung o'er the western hill. Black, thick, and vast arose that cloud above the wilderness, as some dark world from upper air were stooping over this. At times the solemn thunder pealed, and all was still again, save a low murmur in the air of coming wind and rain. Just as the big raindrop it fell, a weary stranger came and stood before the farmer's door with travel soiled and lame. Sad seemed he, yet sustaining hope was in his quiet glance, and peace like autumn's moonlight clothed his tranquil countenance. A look like that his master wore in Pilate's council hall. It told of wrongs, but of a love meekly forgiving all. home. Friend, wilt thou give me shelter here? The stranger meekly said, and leaning on his oaken staff, the good man's features read. My life is hunted, evil men are following my track. The traces of the torture's whip are on my aged back. And much I fear 'twill peril thee within thy doors to take, a hunted seeker of the truth, oppressed for conscience' sake. All right, a little bit from this much longer ballad by John Greenleaf Whittier, The Exile. Again, in this beautiful 1902 volume, edited by Edward Everett Hale, right? Certainly, professor of rhetoric up in New England at Union College back in the day. Really phenomenal work, beautiful. All right, great way to start the day.